Hello world, welcome back to the channel. If you are returning, thank you so much for returning to the channel. If you are new, please do hit subscribe. I'm asking early in the video. My New Year's resolution is to actually ask you guys verbally to subscribe and to like the video. Normally I do it in text if I do it at all, but my New Year's resolution is that I'm actually going to ask you guys. So welcome to another video. And in this video, I want to talk about my garden because I haven't shown you guys my garden yet. So my garden's come a long way, right? The reason I hadn't documented it up until this point, at a point where it's actually doing well, is because I was really terrible at gardening at first. Like, I was so terrible at gardening. I couldn't get anything to grow. I couldn't get anything. I never ever harvested anything from my garden for 2 or 3 years. I don't think it's more than 3 years, but that's just because I was sucky at gardening. I couldn't get anything to grow, and when I did get something to grow, I couldn't keep it alive. So I just gave up on documenting the process, but I didn't give up on having a garden. But deep down, I thought it was never going to happen. Anyway, it happened. The garden's actually doing really, really well. I've harvested a couple of things from my garden already, so it's all going well. But because of the past failures, I hadn't documented my garden up until this point. So in this video, I am going to show you my garden. I am a master of Photoshop, as you will see. And all the gray blocks that you see, I'm not supposed to say that you see because then I'm not a master at Photoshop, but basically that's just me being sarcastic. I did a terrible Photoshop job. So I use these little gray blocks to kind of be the wall and the paving to block out certain parts of my garden, so I can take you on as best a journey as I can as to how I've gotten to the point that I'm at from where I started. So we will get into that in a bit. So starting at this point, you can see here, it's just my couple of calendula plants and some tomato bushes. I struggle to keep the calendula alive, even though it's kind of like a succulent plant. I still struggle to keep it alive, but I was so adamant on having those plants on this wire mesh that you can see here, because they were just so colorful and pretty, and I thought they'd be easier to look after because they are kind of succulent plants, which they were easier to look after. I think I've just become a lot more attentive to my garden. So as you can see here, I've got my 2 calendula plants. The rest that died that I put there before. But basically this is what my garden looked like when it started, just without the tomatoes on the tomato bushes. If you can just imagine the tomato bushes without tomatoes. That's how it started. Okay, and then just special mention as well, the bee hotels, the 2 bee hotels that you see on top of the wire that the calendula is on. Those are my bee hotels, which are almost fully occupied by not bees. Other insects kind of moved in there. But as you can see, I added my pepper trees in, a couple of pepper trees. And peppers are fairly easy to grow, but I had also struggled growing those. So got some pepper trees there. There are now peppers growing on the tree, which I will update you on soon. Okay, so this is where it starts to get really good and where I start to become really excited, because I've got more calendula plants up now, and they are actually flourishing. The flowers do die off. You just pick them off, or the wind blows them off, and then they bloom once again. So at the moment, this is what it's looking like. All my calendula plants with the pretty flowers in bloom. I'm so excited about that. On to the next one. So this piece here that I've added on is definitely a very important part of my garden, and this is the memorial that we have for Lilo. So this is where we'll keep all succulents, hopefully succulents that bloom with pretty flowers. But because of my past fails in gardening, I was adamant on getting plants into Lilo's planter box that will not die. So because it's Lilo, I really don't want plants in there that are going to die. It's just going to not feel right. I don't want more more death surrounding Lila. You know, I miss her a lot. But this is her memorial, the memorial planter box. 3-tier. It had to be 3-tier. I couldn't get smaller than that because Lila was the highest authority in the land. So, of course, it has to be 3-tier. We had a lot of delays around this planter box because you can see on this one, the bottom planter is a lot bigger than the 2 top ones. So it kind of holds the weight so that it doesn't tip forward. But initially I bought one where all 3 planters were the size of these smaller ones. And so when I put the soil in it, it kind of started leaning forward and it broke eventually. The screws also seemed a bit too short to hold them together. So I took it back to them, and Pellet Man in Brackenfell, Okavango Park, I think it's called. Pellet Man over there, they were very helpful, great customer service, and they gave me a whole new planter box at no extra cost. And they built on the bigger bottom part as well. No extra cost. They were super awesome. I really enjoyed the customer service. I really enjoyed how they handled me. So yeah, that's a very special piece in my garden, especially for Lilo. It's all for her, in her memory. My brother's dog as well, Jasmine, passed away just a couple of months ago, and her name will also go in the memorial garden along with Lilo's name. So yeah, just a pretty way to remember Lilo, and then a pretty way to, you know, also remember Jasmine. Okay, now this is a really cool piece that I've added to my garden. They are basically 5-liter bottles that are just 3 stacked on top of each other, and then there are 3 rows of 3, and they hold my herbs because my herbs always struggled, and I think that the sun, the direct sunlight, is just too much for the herbs to survive. And so I've been looking after them in this way with the water bottles, recycled, upcycled water bottles, and it's been going really well for my herbs. I'm so happy that they are not dying and actually surviving, and I don't keep having to buy new herbs to plant. They are actually just surviving and thriving and growing. And now I am propagating some basil because I'd like to make some basil pesto at home. So this was a great way to actually lengthen the life of my herb garden. So that was quite awesome. It's just DIY. 1 5-liter bottle at the top, and then you cut a hole in the next 5-liter bottle, you stick it in, put the lid on, so you connect them that way. And then I've got this metal grate that I've cable tied it to. But yeah, very simple, very easy, and it's keeping my herbs alive. So I don't have to keep buying herbs to replant them and just for them to have them die. So this has been a lot better. Right, and then after that, Gain bought me this really nice black piece. It looks almost like a shoebox, but it's these pockets where you can do your vertical gardening, because vertical gardening is really awesome. So what I've got going in there, I'm focusing on garlic and basil because I want to have more basil so that I can make some basil pesto. But this has been awesome. This has been an awesome addition to the garden. Cute little pockets. You know, you water them from the top and it just trickles down. Same with the bottles as well. They just trickle down as you water them. So you can get so much more plants when you do vertical gardening. So that's always something to look at if you have small spaces. I don't necessarily have a small space. The yard is quite big. But I just want to have all my garden in one place instead of just constantly moving around. So that's why I'm doing all these space-saving things here in this space, because I'd like to keep the garden, you know, all together in one place in the yard. But this has been an awesome addition. It's quite durable. It's so sturdy. It doesn't seem like it's going to break anytime soon. And it's, like I said, vertical gardening, it's just great when you water the top and it just trickles down. It can save you a lot of time as well. So that's been an awesome addition to the garden as well. Okay, so this is roughly what my garden looks like now. That's with everything added. Thank you for putting up with my wonderful Photoshop work. very realistic. You couldn't even tell. You couldn't even tell that it was photoshopped because I'm so good at just blending colors and textures to cover things in a photo and make them look like walls and paving and whatever. Thank you for putting up with that. This is what it's looking like now. Ta-da! And I will keep you updated on any new things that I do in my garden and any harvesting that we do. So it's been quite fruitful. It's been quite successful, and I'm really happy about that because as I said 2 or 3 years before this, I struggled to keep a garden going. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing different now. Like I said in the beginning, I think I'm more attentive. But either way, the garden's going great and we've got things growing in there. If this girl here at my feet, Nani, can just stop trampling my garden when she barks at the dogs at that wall, she barks at the next door neighbor's dogs, that would be awesome because she's killing my lettuce at the moment. Sleeping by my feet. She's so cute, except for when she's standing in my garden. I don't like that. Lettuce are like the easiest thing to grow, but my lettuce are dying because she's stepping in them. Yeah, I'll keep you updated on what's going on in my garden. I'll keep you updated if Nani eats anything in my garden that she's not supposed to be eating. And I am just happy that my garden is thriving and I actually get to show you updates and not failures. So thank you for watching this video. If you've made it this far, please do like the video. Please comment down below any gardening tips that you have. I'd really appreciate that because I'm no expert. I've had a bit of success, but I'm no expert. So if you got any gardening tips, please drop them in the comments below. And please do subscribe. There's a lot of you who are returning to the channel and watching the videos, but you're not subscribed. So please do subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Okay, I know I said I'll see you in the next one, but I just wanted to give you of my garden the way it is now, because in the video there's a couple things missing, but let me show you. There you go, girl. Okay, let's look at the garden. Let's look at the garden. There's some carrots going here. I originally grew big tomatoes, but wanted to do cherry tomatoes. So here they are, finally growing some cherry tomatoes because that's what we prefer. Pepper's growing good. Look at this. Look at that. So I'm going to give these to my mom because they use big tomatoes, but that's growing really well. And then I've got my onions growing. My celery is now flowering, so these will give me seeds eventually, which I will plant. That one's struggling. I'm not sure why, but it's struggling. And I've got more peppers here because I do love my green peppers, right? Lettuce, Nani's killed. I've picked those, they are regrowing. And then potatoes. I'm gonna replant those potatoes. And then spinach. And then Lilo's thing over here. And I've added these flowers in, just to make them pretty. I'll get more succulents soon to put in there. Calendivas. And propagating some basil to put in my thingamabob. So, that's where the garden's at now. It's looking beautiful, beautiful.